Chapter 3: Suggestion, Telepathy, and the Grouping of Beliefs. Ideas have an electromagnetic reality. Beliefs are strong ideas about the nature of reality. Ideas generate emotion. Like attracts like, so similar ideas group about each other, and you accept those that fit in with your particular quote-unquote system of ideas. The ego attempts to maintain a clear point of focus, of stability, so that it can direct the light of the conscious mind with some precision and concentrate its focus in areas of actuality that seem permanent. As mentioned, the ego, while a portion of the whole self, can be defined as a psychological quote-unquote structure, composed of characteristics belonging to the personality as a whole, organized together to form a surface identity. Now, generally speaking, through the period of a lifetime, this allows for the easy emergence of many tendencies and abilities. It permits many more potentials to emerge than would otherwise be possible. If this were not the case, for example, your interests throughout life would not change. The ego, while appearing to be permanent then, forever changes as it adapts new characteristics from the whole self, and lets others recede. Otherwise, it would not be responsive to the needs and desires of the entire personality. Because it is intimately connected with other portions of the self, it does not basically feel alienated or alone, but proudly acts as the director of the conscious mind's focus. It is an adjunct of the conscious mind in that respect. Basically, it understands its source and its nature. It is the portion of the mind, then, that looks out upon physical reality and surveys it in relation to those characteristics of which it is composed at any given time. It makes its judgments according to its own idea of itself. It is the most physically oriented portion of your inner self, but it is not, however, apart from your inner self. It sits on the windowsill, so to speak, between you and the exterior world. It can also look in both directions. It makes judgments about the nature of reality in relationship to its and your needs. It accepts or does not accept beliefs. It cannot shut out information from your conscious mind, however, but it can refuse to pay attention to it. This does not mean that the information becomes unconscious. It is simply thrown into a corner of your mind, unassimilated, and not organized into the parcel of beliefs upon which you are presently concentrating. It is there if you look for it. It is not invisible, nor do you have to know exactly what you are looking for, which of course would make the situation nearly impossible. All you have to do is decide to examine the contents of your conscious mind, realizing that it contains treasures that you have overlooked. Another way to do this is to recognize through examination that the physical effects you meet exist as data in your conscious mind, and the information that formerly seemed unavailable will be obvious. The seemingly invisible ideas that cause your difficulties have quite obvious visible physical effects, and these will lead you automatically to the conscious area in which the initiating beliefs or ideas reside. Once more, if you become aware of your own conscious thoughts, these themselves will give you clues, for they clearly speak your beliefs. If, for example, you have scarcely enough money on which to live, and you examine your thoughts, you may find yourself constantly thinking, "I can never pay this bill, I never have any luck, I'll always be poor." Or you will find yourself envying those who have more, degrading the value of money perhaps, and saying that those who have it are unhappy, or at best spiritually poor. When you find these thoughts in yourself, you may say, and rather indignantly, "But those things are all true. I am poor. I cannot meet my bills," and so forth. In so doing, you see, you accept your belief about reality as a characteristic of reality itself, and so the belief is transparent or invisible to you, but it causes your physical experience. You must change the belief. I will give you methods to allow you to do this. You may follow your thoughts in another area and find yourself thinking that you are having difficulty because you are too sensitive. Finding the thought, you may say, "But it is true, I am. I react with such great emotion to small things." But this is a belief, and a limiting one. If you follow your thoughts further, you may find yourself thinking, "I am proud of my sensitivity. It sets me apart from the mob," or "I am too good for this world." These are limiting beliefs. They will distort true reality. Your own true reality. These are but a few samples of the ways in which your own quite conscious ideas may be invisible to you while being available all the time, and limiting your experience. Now, we have been speaking of the conscious mind, for it is the director of your activities physically. I told you that it was important to realize the ego's position as the most quote-unquote exterior portion of the inner self, not alienated but looking outward to physical reality. Using this analogy, portions of the self on the other side of the conscious mind constantly receive telepathic data. Remember, there are no divisions, so the terms used are simply to make the discussion easier. The ego tries to organize all material coming into the conscious mind. For its purposes, the egos are those that have come to the surface at any given time in the self's overall encounter with physical reality. As I said, the ego cannot keep information out of the conscious mind, but it can refuse to focus directly upon it. Now, the telepathic information, using our analogy, comes through deeper portions of the self. These parts have such an amazing capacity to receive that some organization is necessary to sift the data. Some is simply not important to you. It concerns people of whom you have no other knowledge. You are a sender and a receiver. Because ideas have an electromagnetic reality, beliefs, because of their intensity, radiate strongly. Due to the organizing structure of your own psychological nature, similar beliefs congregate, and you will readily accept those with which you already agree. Limiting ideas, therefore, predispose you to accept others of a similar nature. Exuberant ideas of freedom, spontaneity, and joy automatically collect others of their kind also. There is a constant interplay between yourself and others in the exchange of ideas, both telepathically and on a conscious level. This interchange follows, again, your conscious beliefs. It is fashionable in some circles to believe that you react physically to telepathically received messages despite your conscious beliefs or ideas. This is not the case. You react only to those telepathic messages that fit in with your conscious ideas about yourself and your reality. Let me add here that the conscious mind is itself spontaneous. It enjoys playing with its own contents, so I am not here recommending a type of stern mental discipline in which you examine yourself at every moment. I am telling you about countering measures that you can take in areas in which you are not pleased with your experience. Now, you will react, therefore, to all the information that you receive according to your conscious beliefs concerning the nature of reality. The deeper portions of the self do not have to take the ego's idea of time into consideration, so these portions of the self also deal with data that would ordinarily escape the ego's perception, perhaps until a certain quote-unquote point of ego time was reached. The ego, which must manipulate most directly with the everyday world, takes time, clock time, quite seriously. Even the ego, however, realizes to some extent that clock time is a convention, but it does not like such conventions broken. It will often neglect any clairvoyant or precognitive material that comes into the conscious mind from the deeper portions of the self. On occasion, when the ego recognizes that such data can be highly practical, it then becomes more liberal in its recognition of it, but only when such information fits in with its concepts of what is possible and not possible. Now, the ego's concepts are your concepts, since it is a part of you. If you dwell on ideas of danger or potential disaster, if you think of the world mainly in terms of your physical survival and consider all those circumstances that may work against it, then you may find yourself suddenly aware of precognitive dreams that foretell incidents of accidents, earthquakes, robberies, or murders. Your own idea of the perilous nature of existence becomes so strong that the ego allows this data to emerge, even though it is quote-unquote out of time, because your fearful beliefs convince you that it must be on guard. The incidents do not even have to involve you. From all the unconscious telepathic and clairvoyant data available, however, you will be aware of this particular grouping, and it will only serve to reinforce your idea that existence is above all perilous. If this information becomes available in the dream state, you may then say, "I am frightened of dreams. My bad dreams so often come true." So you try to inhibit memory of your dreams. Instead, you should examine your conscious beliefs, for they are so strong that they are causing you not only to focus upon calamity in the physical world, but to use your inner abilities to the same end. Telepathic communication is constant. This is usually at an unconscious level merely because your conscious mind is in a state of becoming. It cannot hold all of the information you possess. As an example, if your conscious ideas are relatively positive, you will react to telepathically received information of a similar nature, even if you do so on an unconscious level. As I mentioned earlier, you are also sending your own telepathic thoughts outward. Others will react to those according to their own ideas of reality. A family can constantly reinforce its joy, gaiety, and spontaneity by concentrating on ideas of vitality, strength, and creativity, or it can let half of its energy slip away by reinforcing resentments, angers, and thoughts of doubt and failure. Either way, the ideas of reality are reinforced both consciously and unconsciously, not only within the family, but among all those with whom the family comes in contact. You will get what you concentrate upon. There is no other main rule. It may be easy for you to see beliefs that are invisible to others in themselves. Reading this book, you may be able to point at friends or acquaintances and see clearly that their ideas are invisible beliefs which limit their experience, and yet be blind to your own invisible beliefs, which you take so readily as truth or characteristics of reality. Your sense data, again, will most definitely reinforce your ideas. You will also react clairvoyantly and telepathically to inner information at an unconscious level that is, once more, quote-unquote, collected under the organization of your quite conscious concepts concerning existence in general, and your own in particular. So you are locked into physical situations that are corroborated by great evidence of sense data, and of course it is convincing because it reflects so beautifully, so creatively, and so actively your own ideas and beliefs, whether they are positive or negative. In greater terms, positive and negative have little meaning, for the physical experience is meant as a learning one. But if you are unhappy, then the word negative has a meaning. I expect that by now my readers have at least begun to examine their beliefs, and perhaps obtained a glimpse of some invisible ones that have been accepted before as definite aspects of reality. Now, if you are honest with your lists, you will finally come to what I call core beliefs, strong ideas about your own existence. Many other subsidiary beliefs that earlier seemed separate from each other should now appear quite clearly as being offshoots of core beliefs. They seem logical only in their relationship to a core idea. Once the core belief is understood to be a false one, the others will fall away. It is the core belief which is strong enough to so focus your perception that you perceive from the physical world only those events that correlate with it. It is also the strength of the core belief that draws up from the vast bank of inner knowledge only those events that seem to fit within its organization. Now, let me give you a brief example of a core belief. It is a blanket belief. Human nature is inherently evil. This is a core belief. About it will spring events that only serve to reinforce it. Experiences, both personal and global, will come into the perception of a person who holds this belief that will only serve to deepen it further. From all the available physical data of newspapers, television, letters, and private communication, he or she will concentrate only upon those issues that quote-unquote prove that point. Suspicion of others will grow, to say nothing about the individual's personal distrust. The belief will reach into the most intimate areas of his or her life, and finally no evidence will seem to be available to disprove it. This is a sample of an invisible core belief at its worst. A person holding it will not trust a mate, family, friends, colleagues, country, or the world in general.